my dear teacher in the ethics of care. I wouldn't have never dreamed of that, but I'm happy that it's happening here. I was
you could have been a student of Habermas, I'm sorry for you.
May I say it was better to be a student of you than and I mean it honestly, and you know that it's honest. So I have had both, and I know what is the better part of it. I was asked to say something about the ethics of care in relation to political theory of care. So I tried to make some points here and hope we can discuss this later. The first thing is that I give you some sentence on what I think is the ethics of care. You all know much more about it. It's only some glimpse, and I will read it. I only put it on PowerPoint because of the English. The ethics of care addresses voluntary, communicative, and supportive interactivities between unknown people as citizens in professional settings or among friends, neighbors, and relatives by choice or family members. The ethics of care focuses on the quality of these interactions and reflects on the ethico-political standards informing these interactions by answering the question how listening, support, or assistance are carried out. The ethics of care contributes to a moral epistemology, reflects on the connection between moral reasoning and moral practice, and on its societal conditions. I took this from an article written together from Jorma Haya and me in the new book, which was sold yesterday, done by Helen Kohlen, Gerd, and Jorma.
This book.
Yeah, the book. So you find these arguments there, but this is not only mine, but Jorma shares some of them, but we've written them together. The text is also from her. So what is political theory? First, what is political theory in general, without care, or besides care? This is my definition of, or our definition of what is political theory. I think political theory has three fundamental purposes. The first is to interpret societal and political conditions, to let them appear as distinct, visible, and apprehensible. Secondly, to express and elaborate critique by analyzing prevalent notions in view of their inherent biases and to overcome the conceptual barriers of thought. This is what the ethics of care contributes a lot to. Thirdly, to think about how to improve conditions.
Did you want to slide? Did you want to change the slide?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. I read it again. Thank you. So, okay. You can see it here. Firstly, it's an interpretation process. So I get that as something hermeneutical. Interpreting society and political conditions. Secondly, expressing critique, to express and elaborate critique by analyzing prevalent notions in view of their inherent biases and to overcome the conceptual barriers of thought. Thirdly, to think about how to improve conditions that need to be changed by framing new and approved ways of transformation. So that is what I think, and in our discussions came out my idea of what political theory could do or is doing. Political theory, I think, is the good one, is doing. So please, the next slide. So from Joan, from the Moral Boundaries book, we took three central issues that have, in my view, be distincted. This is firstly whether or not listening or assistance are achieved and repeatedly carried out. Listening and assistance are short words for care. We tried very hard to not take the word care for everything, but fill in something precise. So you can fill other things in if you think that's better. So whether or not care practices are achieved and repeatedly carried out. Das war nicht richtig. Secondly, how assistance is performed with the focus on the process and quality of appropriate interactions. Thirdly, why caring activities do not take place. And the third thing is, I guess, one of the core points for your new book, who is hindering care, and which privilege is hindering care. It's also in 1993 already. So we have this we took this three important things out of your book, but ordered it by ourselves, so the responsibility is ours, but the ideas are yours. Now, what can be a political theory of care? I give you the slides afterwards, so if it's too quick to write, no problem. A political theory starts off with the description of care as an interactive practice aiming at attentively describing how the practice is performed. So that is my focus on the performance of the practice, but I took it from your 4 steps. The caring with is missing here, but the 4 steps are for me a question of the quality of care. With the political theory, the conditions under which care is practiced successfully, in Stuttgart we had the discussion about successful, I mean gelingendes Handeln, eupratein from Aristotle, and I do not like to take the word good practice because we have a bunch of other associations, so I say successful, but successful is not meant in a way of
technical way.
Yeah, it's not meant in a technical way, so it is something in between successful and good. Gelingendes Handeln. With the political theory, the conditions under which care is practiced successfully or good, and a successful or good performance of care is enabled, or what are the barriers for a good performance of care, should be critically be reviewed. Thereby, criteria are generated to evaluate social action, organizational and societal structures, the importance of performing activities with attention and by means of communication, as well as providing aid. A political theory of care reflects on the transformation of social action, organizational and societal structures in order to better the conditions of listening, support, or assistance. So this is the last slide here, which reflects also on the question, how should the transformation process be brought forward? So, and these are ideas from my book, Cosmopolitan Civil Society, and there I explore 3 practices that could help to transform society, and these 3 practices root in social movement activities. So I looked at several social movements and tried to explore what practices they commonly use without knowing from each other that transform society. And I found 3 practices from social movements, and this is reflection, common reflection, also called consciousness raising. Secondly, remembering, and thirdly, translation. So the remembering point, the consciousness raising is something most of the people know either from the fight against apartheid and movement in the black movement in the United States, but for me it was also very present by the feminist movement as an important practice, to sit around in a circle and talking about what are the conditions under which wrong or bad situation came up and what individuals could do to change it. But more in not the act to go out in the streets and make a demonstration, but to reflect on what is my part to it. So where am I the one who says I'm stupid? And not where are the others the one who tell me, but where is it me, myself, who is doing that, and that in a group to end, but not only as a personal or psychological thing, but also as a political action, and then also the demonstration correlated with this. This was the consciousness raising. The second is the remembering practice. I found that nearly each movement I was looking at has this idea to think who has been there before. So if you look at the movement of black German persons who are angry about not being represented in the right way in the media, in the German media, and in certain other, in a lot of other public institutions, they found out that 100 years before, on the turn of the 19th to the 20th centuries, there had been black German persons being in important positions and nobody knew about. So they found it out, they looked at the photograph, they made an exposition and so on. And we know these movements to who was first from nearly all the, not nearly, from all the movements I know, there's this looking back memory. And also a very sad memory about people who have been murdered because of exclusion, projection, discrimination, and so this remembering is core part of starting something new. We heard yesterday from you a very interesting, for me, very interesting paper about how in South Africa you can bring together students from different contexts to talk to each other about their life conditions and to kind of find a way of understanding each other's life conditions and personally understanding, and this has also to do, I think, a lot with the memory of the past. Yeah. The third thing is the translation. So now we got a consciousness about what is our part to contribute to being marginalized. The second is we remember other people of our group who had been marginalized and we hold their memory awake. And now we have to translate this into society. We have to explain to people who don't know these experiences, but who are responsible for letting us feel these exclusionary situation, to translate what it means. And this was a wonderful example how you can have this translation process in teaching, so that students from one background and the other background tell each other. It's not an equal gain for each person there, but there is a gain. So translation into society, I think that's the third practice, where I think the transformation by successful practice is vivid. Okay.
Thank you.